Hi, this is Web3 Talks, the podcast where we learn how to build Web3 projects directly from Web3 founders. My name is Maciej Budkowski and I talk with the founders about their projects, business models, technology, community building, user acquisition strategies, and more. If you want to start your own project or are just curious about the space, this podcast will bring you answers. Stay tuned. This is an episode number 11. I'm recording that with Andre during war between Russia and Ukraine. And I will add to the description of this podcast the link where you can donate crypto to Ukraine, either ETH or Bitcoin. And as this is a very close country to me, I've been to Ukraine, I've been to Kyiv, I've been to Lviv, which both are being destroyed right now. And I know many Ukrainian people. And actually, I met refugees today in my blog. So this is very tangible thing. So if you would like to help, I will appreciate it. So, so this was pretty heavy start for this podcast, but I hope that we can kind of just focus on this Web3 and crypto stuff right now. So, Andre, you are CityCoins community lead and you are a person that's very important for the project because all Web3 projects are grounded in communities. Without community, there's no Web3, no crypto. So, before we get to CityCoins, could you tell us about your experience and how have you, ended up in crypto?
Yeah, sure. Hey, Max. So first of all, thanks for taking the time to recognize the situation in Ukraine. I think it's important to call that out right now. So I've been in the crypto space for about 5 years now. So prior to CityCoins, I was the head of business development at Zcash, which is actually one of the earliest crypto projects to launch originally as a fork of Bitcoin. And the founding scientists there basically had a breakthrough that enabled you to send confidential transactions on chain. And so that happened at a time where I was starting to realize some of the ways that digital privacy was starting to erode. And so it occurred to me that this would be sort of a key growth driver for the industry over the long term. And so around this time, I'd been working with Josh Swihart at the Electric Coin Company on a program called Crypto in Context. And so this is a program to deliver crypto and financial literacy education to people from underserved communities. And so we spent a lot of time working in the South Bronx, which is actually one of the largest unbanked and underbanked populations in the country, to work with them to provide crypto and financial education for them. And it was during this time that I really started to explore the idea of a community currency and really examining the ways that crypto could empower communities that had previously been excluded from the financial system. And so fast forward a few months and the Stacks mainnet had launched. I'd been an investor in the project back since it was still called Blockstack. And so, when I heard Patrick Stanley first starting to explore the idea of CityCoins, the concept immediately started to click for me about how transformative it could be to some of the communities that I had already been working with. And so I left my job in Zcash. I started mining MiamiCoin when it launched in early August, and I've really been helping the community on a variety of different growth initiatives since then.
Okay, so it's a very intense story because for those who don't know, Zcash is the very OG project. The founder of Zcash was actually emailing with Satoshi Nakamoto. So this is you don't get more OG than that. So yeah, definitely, it's a very interesting experience. And could you tell more about what have you been doing for this population from the South Bronx? How have you been trying to educate them?
Yeah, absolutely. So we started by developing a partnership with Bronx Community College. And so the program was based on this idea that we could increase connection between the crypto industry and people from underserved communities. So we developed a program that covered a variety of topics around crypto and financial literacy that were actually taught by experts in the crypto industry, basically with the idea that this industry is still emerging. It's only 10 years old, really. And so many of the people that are attending Bronx Community College could have a huge influence on the project moving forward, and they themselves become leaders in this industry. And so we really wanted to work with them to give them the tools that they need to be successful and develop the skills needed for this new digital economy.
Great. Sounds very useful for these people. I wish, like, even though I'm not from underserved community at all, I wish I had this kind of education. So I guess for them, it must have been a breakthrough education. Okay. And could you share the story behind CityCoins? Like, what has been the main idea and what is the main idea, like, right now, when you look in the future, what do you see there? What kind of role CityCoins are going to play?
Yeah, totally. So the big idea behind CityCoins is that it's a project designed to empower communities to improve and program their cities. And so at a high level, CityCoins are an open source platform that developers can use to build applications to improve their city. And by using this protocol, it creates an ongoing revenue stream for the city. And so essentially, by tokenizing cities, it turns everyone into a stakeholder that is rooting for the success of their city. And so as a result, cities are able to access global capital markets and a global talent pool of developers who have a vested financial interest in seeing the city succeed. And so, really the idea for CityCoins came in response to the pandemic and how that changed the way that people were interacting with each other online. And so basically what it meant was that people could work remotely from anywhere as long as they had a computer and an internet connection. And so you didn't need to be in San Francisco to work in tech or be on Sand Hill Road to raise VC funding. And so this was a pretty big shift because it basically meant that people had the opportunity now to vote with their feet and their capital in addition to their ballot. And so as a result of this, we've seen the rise of these so-called startup cities. And this trend has really been epitomized by Mayor Francis Suarez, who's been able to recruit talent and capital to Miami. And so basically, these breakthroughs in Web3 have led to new ways to coordinate community and capital. And CityCoin sits at these very interesting sort of macro trends about how people are interacting with their cities and how leaders in their cities have to recruit community and capital to come and join their city.
Okay, so CityCoins plays on this trend of cities being just like any other entity, part of the open market, like free economy. And just like your company can compete to attract talent, city can compete not maybe by compensation, but also maybe, mostly compete with the quality of living and, whether the taxes are good and so on. And that's what we've seen in Miami for sure.
Exactly.
Here I have a question because when we think about Miami, for them, the major value proposition was, okay, the weather is good. The COVID restrictions were pretty loose compared to California, where they have brought many people from. And there's also a lot of capital and so on. So I'm wondering if we have this value proposition and people move to Miami. So these people have pretty different perspective than people that are outside. Like, for example, if I am going to build an app for Miami today, I don't live there yet, but I am going to live there for sure, at least for some time. So if I'm going to write an app for Miami, how can I, get rewards from that to make it easier? Actually, I've read about it, but I want our audience to understand. Because if I live there, I understand it. The people have problems with recycling, for example. And I see that city is slow with development because, government has their problems with acting very fast because, they have many gatekeepers and so on. So I just write an app and just make it available. But I'm wondering, if I'm not there, can I reap any rewards, financial rewards for providing software for MiamiCoin?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'd say that the biggest way that we see that right now is through the incentive alignment by holding a city coin, right? And so now everybody has the financial interest in seeing the city coin succeed. And so building applications that provide new utility or use cases for the protocol is a really good way for people to start to contributing to that value.
Okay, so it's like as if I was building application for Ethereum and being holder of Ethereum. So I feel, okay, the more apps, the more use cases, the bigger demand for Ethereum. So I can get some money from that.
That's exactly right. And then really it's the people in the municipality that are really going to start to notice some of the effects of this, because the economic flywheel of CityCoins is such that the more use cases and the more utility that the protocol is able to generate, it increases the value of the city's treasury wallet,
Yeah.
and which the city can then go and use to fund public goods in the city and reinvest back into the tech and startup ecosystem, which should have this sort of effect to gain more momentum that the city can continue to do these things over the long term.
Okay, great. So I would like to, grab this subject of the treasury, because a few weeks ago, Mayor Francis Suarez announced that they have cashed out around $5 million from their treasury, which is a pretty significant number, to be honest. And I know Mayor is very open to innovation, and he is open to getting some part of his salary in Bitcoin and so on. But having government official from a high profile city endorsing this kind of project is like a whole new level. So I'm wondering, how the hell have you made it happen?
Yeah, totally. I'd say first there is a big process of educating government officials on the role that Web3 can have in their cities and how it positions cities to be able to capture some of the value that it provides for those residents. And so we spend a lot of time focused on how do we educate officials and sort of get them up to speed on some of these benefits that it can provide to their residents. Then I would say, we focus on, how do we pass a resolution so that the city is actually able to access some of those funds. And then from there, we work with the city to develop new use cases and utility and a plan for the protocol for how it can really start to accelerate the flywheel that we talked about previously.
Okay, and how do you educate? You prepare some pitch decks, or you just invite them to conferences? How do you do it?
Yeah, it's a bit of both. I think that we have materials and resources that we can provide to governments, and I would say we try to meet them at the level that they're at. And so many people are coming in with different understanding of crypto and blockchain, and so we try to speak to it at a high level and really try to make the examples tangible so that they can see how Web3 can align with some of their existing initiatives. And so it's when we see that overlap that we're able to make good progress on that.
Okay. And what are the best examples that you find that, government officials really, they feel them and they see themselves convinced when they hear about them?
Yeah, so I think that the first is that there is a big interest in sort of civic tech. Like the civic tech movement in government has, been going on for many years. And so, we try to position this in a way that is complementary to some of the existing things that people are working on in government. It's not a competing tech, but hopefully it provides the tools that people need to upgrade some of those services. Let's see. I would also say that identity management, asset management are big sort of use cases that we're seeing cities start to latch onto. I would also say CityCoin NFTs are a really interesting example to kind of dive into there, because what we're seeing is that NFTs that are issued on the CityCoin protocol are able to provide funding for public goods in the city. So I can speak to a few examples there as well. So there's one project that comes to mind called City Packs. And the founder, Diego, was able to develop these digital backpacks and sell them as NFTs that go towards funding the Miami-Dade public school system and cultural arts programs for students.
Cool.
We're also seeing NFT projects come that maybe they represent a physical parcel in the city, and they can use those proceeds to fund artists to improve that space in real life. And so I think using CityCoin NFTs, aligning with this sort of civic engagement narrative, is able to provide new opportunities for artists and creators to improve their city as well.
Yeah, it sounds very convincing, especially the civic tech. The fact that you can just you feel that some public service is broken and you just sit and write app to solve it without asking anyone for permission. It sounds super cool. And, these NFTs as well, being able to fund public spaces. I've seen this charity NFTs working very well in fundraising for Afghanistan, for Ukraine right now. So I think it's a great idea. We are talking about education, and city coins are a pretty new phenomenon, even for people who are in crypto. I think I'm pretty fluent, but I felt that I needed to stop for a while to really just proceed all the information about this project. So I'm wondering what has been the biggest challenges that you see when people either cannot understand it or they think, okay, so this is something else. So they misrepresent or some myths that are around city coins.
Yeah, definitely. I think there are a few. The first I would say is I think that there has been somewhat of a misconception that Miami, for example, has issued their own token. And I say it's a misconception because really city coins are designed to be much more bottoms up and grassroots. And so, I think when people hear MiamiCoin, they think that it came top down from the government, but actually it's the opposite. A city coin like MiamiCoin activates when 20 independent miners signal for that activation. And then after that happens, a countdown begins after which mining starts. And the process of mining is how the city is able to generate value for their treasury wallet. And then the city has the ability to go ahead and claim those funds. And so it really is like a decentralized grassroots process that's forming a new type of public-private partnership with the city. And I think that dynamic can be a little bit confusing at times. I think the second would be the connection to Bitcoin. And so we get a lot of questions of like, why did you structure it this way? Why didn't you use a different chain that maybe I'm more familiar with? And, we really see Bitcoin as being the most secure and resilient chain today. And so we felt that it was appropriate that cities would be on the chain that we could confidently say would be around in 50 or 100 years from now. And today, Bitcoin is the best chain for that. The last thing that I'll add is the process for how we think about educating the communities about digital literacy more generally. And so, it's part of our goal to onboard entire populations of residents so that everyone can participate in the growth of this new protocol. But when you think about that, there is a pretty significant educational gap that exists today. And so, when we think about onboarding residents to the protocol, we have to think about, okay, how do you set up a wallet? How should they think about a public and private key pair? How should they think about cybersecurity and keeping their funds secure and not selling them so that they can sort of share in some of the value that it creates in the long term? There are all these things that go into educating a city about Web3 and CityCoins specifically that we try to be thoughtful with how we approach.
Yeah, it sounds like a big challenge so that people don't share the seed phrases with MetaMask support or like any other, hilarious entities on Twitter. Because, it's like when you design a product, there's also this downside scenario when it comes to UX. For example, the app is loading very slowly and people get angry, or, they have forgotten their password and it takes a week to get it back. But here the downside scenario is very severe because if someone loses their $10,000, they will be going around and saying, oh, this MiamiCoin is a scam. Although it's not a scam, but it's their fault, but it doesn't matter because at the end of the day, it's MiamiCoin that will take a blast. So I think education is extremely, extremely important. And I'm very happy that you are so focused on that. We talked about complexity because CityCoins, as far as I understand, is like the third layer of the cake. So the layer number one is Bitcoin, the second layer of the cake is Stacks, and the third layer is CityCoin. And there's been a lot of technical complexity in Stacks already, and in Bitcoin as well. So I'm wondering what has been the most significant technical challenges that you have faced so far while developing CityCoins?
Yeah, definitely. So I guess first I would say that the main breakthrough with CityCoins is that we were able to extend Stacks' proof of transfer consensus mechanism to the smart contract level. And I think that this process takes a moment to break down, but basically, I think it's helpful to think about things in the context of Bitcoin, where Bitcoin miners are purchasing hardware and spending electricity for a chance of winning a Bitcoin block.
Mm-hmm.
And so when people are mining stacks, they're actually spending Bitcoin for a chance of winning a stacks block. And then that Bitcoin is then transferred to people who've decided to lock up their funds in what is called stacking. The main breakthrough with CityCoins is that we've been able to extend this process at the layer above stacks. And so when people are mining CityCoins, they are able to spend stacks for a chance of winning a CityCoin block. And we use something called a verifiable randomness function to determine the winner of that block based off of their contributions weighted against the total. And so basically, we've seen that this process has been really useful for bootstrapping protocols because it's able to provide a native Bitcoin yield, but sort of breaking down that process and some of the layers that you mentioned can be quite complex. And so trying to figure out new ways to sort of condense that information and make it accessible has been part of that education process that we talked about previously.
Okay, so could you explain how does this mining works? I've seen this explainer animation on CityCoins website, but I would be very happy to hear it from you because you might explain it much better than I can for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So when a user decides to mine a CityCoin block, they are sending stacks to a smart contract. And once they do that, those funds are not returned. They are transferred where 30% of the funds goes to the city's treasury wallet. And that's where the city is able to accrue this new revenue stream that we've talked about. And 70% is going towards people who are stacking their city coin. And so it's providing that yield is providing a way to bootstrap the protocol for people who decide to lock up and stack their tokens. And again, the user who is selected for each block is done through a randomness function that they're able to then select the winner of the block.
Mm-hmm. So, and does it work automatically? So, for example, I have like 100 stacks and I decide to just send it to smart contract and will just send one stacks for 100 blocks, or will it say like 100 stacks for one block? Or, do I need to decide how I want to distribute these stacks, or is it, distributed automatically?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I'd say that dynamic is part of the strategy that a miner can use to begin mining the protocol. And so let's use concrete numbers for example. If you contribute 10 stacks and there are 100 stacks that are competing for that block, you have a 10% chance of winning this stacks block. And so you want to average that out over a period of many blocks where if you mine for 100 blocks, you should have an expected value of winning 10 of those blocks. And so I think that strategy is how you can think about it. Now, I would say that the CityCoins community has also developed several mining pools to make it much more accessible for anyone to participate in the mining process. I think with as little as $50 worth of STX, which is good because mining can be a capital intensive process. And so I think this is making it easier for people to begin mining CityCoins.
Okay, so I can just send my stacks to the mining pool and just wait until I get any rewards?
Correct. Yep.
That makes sense. And it's secured by smart contract that I will get it back, or how I am sure that the mining pool, is legit?
Yeah, so the most popular one right now is called Savita Mining Pool, and they've been able to automate that process so that it's all done through smart contracts.
Okay, great. Yeah, we got deep into tech, but these were the questions that I had in mind since August, to be honest, because I haven't mined MiamiCoin yet, but I was very excited about the project. We have spoken about these applications on top of CityCoins. I know a few. There's a Miami Voice that lets citizens propose ideas and vote on how to spend the MiamiCoin money that has been raised. There's Denizen Co-working that lets holders use co-working spaces. There's a block mode that gives people CityCoin rewards for taking part in community events. So for example, if I go for planting tree event in Miami, I may get MiamiCoin as a reward for helping the community to have a nicer city. I'm wondering if there are any other interesting projects that you have seen, but I'm not aware of.
I think that those are three really good examples. Just to like double click on something that you said quickly. So Miami Voice is one that I think is really interesting because it basically turns MiamiCoin into a governance token, where it is a step towards treating the protocol as a DAO, where residents and token holders are able to have a direct say in some of the proposals that are on the platform, which could be anything from how the city determines to use its treasury wallet in the future. And so I think that that's a process, a good example of a process that will help to give regular people more of a voice in how their cities are run. We're seeing many other types of applications. I think there's been one developer working on proof of hold access controls. So this is interesting. You can imagine if you hold MiamiCoin, I'll use MiamiCoin as an example for all CityCoins, that could provide your access to exclusive events in the future. It could be tied towards accessing public parks or transportation, anything like that, as a way to provide access to basic city services and public spaces.
Yeah, it's cool. It's like a better version of a city card. In some cities in Europe, you have the city cards where you buy it and you have an access to public transport, to museums. But having a city coin is better in a way that it generates yield for you and for the city as well. So
that's the main difference there. I think that you're going to see some of those initiatives start to converge in the future. But the main difference is that the city is able to earn a new source of revenue from this initiative that can start to increase their total non-tax income. And so again, that incentive alignment between the cities earning rewards and the users earning rewards is something that I think is going to carry the project forward.
Okay. And, Andre, there's one thing that I need to ask you because, you're a community lead. So I would like to ask you about community. Like, what do you do to, strengthen and take care of the community? Because there are many things that you can do. And if you could name any specific things, just have a bullet list of things that you do so people can learn and get inspired by your actions.
Yeah, definitely. So a lot of my efforts right now go towards supporting developers in the ecosystem. So we host bi-weekly builders calls where many builders and creators from around the community can share an update on what they're working on and get feedback from the community. We're going to be hosting several hackathons over the next few months, as well as an accelerator program that is actually launching this week with about 15 startups that are building on CityCoins. So really providing resources for developers and giving them the tools that they need to build applications. I would say that, I've also been trying to support the community on the ground wherever there's a CityCoin. And so I think that is, to me, it's a key part of that is really understanding the local challenges that residents experience and trying to find ways that Web3 can provide solutions to those things. And so that's a very collaborative process, working with the cities and the governments to do that. But I think that is crucial for developing real use cases that solve real problems.
Yeah, so you are in two roles. One role is finding problems and talking with users. So this is a product designer role or product manager, depending on the naming. And on the other hand, you just find these developers, inform them about the features that they need or the problems that they need to solve so they can build something useful. So you're a product designer, but not on a product level, but more on a protocol level.
Yeah, I mean, basically, I'm just trying to empower the community. And so whether that is being a connector in some ways, providing feedback in other ways, that's kind of the way I see my role in the ecosystem.
Okay, and do you hold any conferences or any events apart from the hackathons?
Yeah, so developing the community through those sorts of growth initiatives is definitely a priority. So I hosted the first in-person CityCoin Summit in Miami last year. It's called MiamiCoin Art Week. We'll be hosting several more such events this year to basically bring together the community in person and establish those sorts of authentic and memorable experiences with the community.
Cool. And I also need to ask you one more question about it. Sorry for being such a pain in the ass, but I really want to find about your online tactics because, many communities in Web3 are mostly built around Discord channels. So I'm wondering, do you have any specific actions that you take on your Discord or maybe your website or forums or whatever tool that you use?
Yeah, I think it's many of those approaches. I think that Discord has become a really important tool for how Web3 communities can organize, but it has its flaws, right? And so it can also be noisy at times. And so, we try to think through ways that we can organize our online community to make it easier for people to make connections with others in the community and get more involved. I kind of think of it as a typical funnel where how do we increase awareness about city coins broadly and provide opportunities for people to get more engaged, whether they want to contribute to bringing city coins to their city, building new applications for city coins that can be used across many cities, leading sort of governance discussions or community calls in the future. So trying to find those ways for deeper engagement.
So if I go to CityCoins Discord channel, how it's organized, what kind of channels do you have? Actually, I'm part of this channel, so I'm acting as if I don't know.
Yeah, so in addition to what you probably see there now, we have been rolling out the ability for users to self-identify roles. So you'll be able to identify yourself as a builder or someone on the token expansion team. And our hope with that is that by creating these sort of working groups in the Discord, people can find like-minded people to collaborate with to support the protocol.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that your Discord is very neat. Like it's very clear and easy to follow because some Discords that I've been part of are, well, not that well organized. I will just finish on that. So yeah, this is very interesting. And there's a lot of action going on, like a lot of people involved. So that's interesting. And you also have many people that have roles of community lead. So it's not like one community manager that tries to be this octopus that, kind of wants to take care of all the channels because it's impossible. But you have multiple community leads. I think that's an important part.
Yeah, and one thing that's interesting is that I find that CityCoins ends up being a lot of people's first entry point to Web3 because it is centered on finding real applications in sort of existing communities. And so trying to make it accessible in that way and keep things organized has definitely been a priority that we've worked on. So I'm glad to hear that you find it to be organized.
Yeah, it is. Like, all the listeners just join CityCoins Discord to see how you can make it really neat. So just learn from them and just, apply it. And I will also apply it to my channel as soon as it gets bigger because it's really nice. And also, I like the fact that you have the roles like, you have people that are builders, that you have people that are content and communication, city expansions. Like if I want to reach out to anyone from there, I can easily find people who are responsible for different parts of the project. And also, it's not a rule so far, but I hope that it will be a rule and someone will get inspired by you. Okay, so Andre, I have 3 last questions. These are like the classic questions from the podcast. So the first one is, no, I will add the 4th question as well. And I will start with that. So if you had a magic wand and could finish one big problem in Web3, what would you just, erase from our world? What kind of problem could you solve with your magic wand? I know it's hard. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to pick one. My head immediately goes to like the onboarding problem. And so how do you make it easier for people to store their funds, know that they're secure without needing to have so many different wallets and things like that? Just like making that process easy, looking at things like key, like social recovery, multi-signature, things like that. I think that is one area that I would really like to see improved.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, what has been the most mind-blowing projects in the space that you've seen? Something that made you, well, inspired or sometimes surprised or, just made you shake your head?
Yeah, so for this, I would say probably Constitution DAO.
Uh,
So, that project basically showed that you could coordinate community and capital at a mass scale. That was in some ways what brought DAOs to the mainstream. And I think that it showed people what is possible through that technology. And today it was trying to buy the Constitution, which didn't end up being successful, but tomorrow it could be used for many more use cases that could have a real impact.
yeah, I can imagine people making this kind of fundraising for their city as well. Like, let's make a nice renovation of this neighborhood or the street or whatever. And people could just pool their funds and through
That's
CityCoins. Yeah.
that's basically what we're doing.
Yeah. So it sounds exciting. What has been the most, like the funniest things that you have seen or that have happened to you so far? Something that made you smile, laugh?
Yeah, so the funniest would have to be the meme coins. Seeing this start to take off, especially Doge, right? Like Doge is kind of one big inside joke where it gets funnier the more the price goes up. So seeing that all throughout last year was very entertaining.
Yeah, I've written one of Kobe's Substacks where he has mentioned a guy that when Doge got out, he created his mini fund where he pulled around $15,000 and he only invested in dog damned coins. And it turned out that he ended up being a millionaire because some of them got super popular. Like, this is hilarious. Like, I cannot imagine just trying to describe it to my grandpa, like, oh, how you got so rich? No, because I created this fund. And
Shiba Inu.
yeah, actually, Shiba is a good example because, many people think of meme coins as a big problem because a lot of people may lose their funds. Obviously, like, I think, people know what they are buying. Like, if it's Bitcoin, you might think, okay, it's a reliable thing. But when you're buying a Shiba Inu, you know that you're buying it to just get rich. Or, as it was in my case, I bought it just because of the fun. Like, I bought like, $100 worth of Shiba, like nothing significant. But I felt that I just want to have it in my portfolio because of the lols that it generated. So yeah,
Totally.
it was definitely a thing.
Totally.
Okay. Thank you, Andre. Thank you a lot for this conversation. I have only one last question. And this question is, whom should I invite next? Who do you think might be a good fit for this kind of conversation? Someone who builds something interesting or grows project that is worth talking about?
Yeah, so for this, I would nominate a good friend of mine, Lior Shimron. He is an investor and Forbes contributor, and he's been spending a lot of time recently looking at music NFTs and how that is changing fan engagement for artists. And I think he could offer some good perspectives on some of the things that he's seeing there.
Okay, I will definitely take a look at him because I'm also a big music NFTs fan. I hold some, so it might be an interesting chat. So thank you for that recommendation.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, Andrew. So thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for coming. It was super insightful. And I'm very happy to finally understand CityCoins because I felt that, I kind of understood them. It was like this 80%, but I was missing some gaps. So I'm very happy to finally get a grasp of them. And I'm very thankful for your time.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks for having me.
Thanks a lot and have a good day.